Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Island of Last Things by Emma Sloley. This is a book from Flatiron Books. It came out August 12th, 2025. It's a sci-fi in the sense that it's a dystopian future sort of book. I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. I've received the audiobook arc from Macmillan, though, so I guess they produced it for Flatiron. So there you go. A character-driven novel about the last zoo in the world, The Island of Last Things is a meditative and melancholy look at the end of the world, essentially. What's it about? Camille has always preferred animals to people. The wild has nearly disappeared, but as a zookeeper in the last zoo in the world, on Alcatraz Island, she spends her days caring for playful chimpanzees, gentle tree frogs, and restless jaguar. Outside, resistance groups and brutal cartels fight to shape the world's future, but Camille is safe within her routines. That is, until a new zookeeper, Sailor, arrives from Paris. From their first meeting, Camille is drawn to Sailor, who seems to see something in Camille that no one has before. They bond over their shared passions and dream up ways to improve their lives. When Sailor whispers the story of an idyllic secret sanctuary where animals roam free, Camille begins to imagine a new kind of life with Sailor by her side. Sailor knows all too well the dangers beyond Alcatraz, but she increasingly chafes at the zoo's rigid rules. She hatches a reckless plan to smuggle one of the most prized animals off the island of freedom and invites Camille to join her. The consequences if they fail would be catastrophic, and Sailor's contacts at the sanctuary go dark just as the threats from the cartels grow more extreme. Camille must decide if she's ready to risk everything for the promise of a better world. If you don't mind a story that takes its time building and is more about character than plot, sense, you will enjoy this. And if you love animals and dystopian novels, that's a couple added bonuses. The writing in this book is gorgeous. There are tons of animal-related similes and metaphors in the novel, but it never feels like ridiculous or gratuitous. They're kind of like dropped in here and there. It flows beautifully, and it's so highly descriptive. You could picture the animals so precisely, and it was like being at a zoo or being like with an animal. I also really enjoyed the focus on female friendship. I thought, especially given the blurb too, it seems like there's a kind of sapphic thing going on, but no, it's just like a really intense female friendship, and I think that's really nice to see because while I love a good sapphic romance too, we don't have enough books I think where women just kind of connect without having some kind of like sensuality behind it. So I actually really liked that. What I enjoyed about this novel is how insular it was as well. We see a little bit about the outside world, but the outside world isn't really kind of the point of the book. Rather than get bogged down on how the world was functioning on the outside, politically or societally, we are restricted to Alcatraz and a few scenes on the outside world. This served as a deeper look into how one facet of society reacted or worked within the New World Order, and I thought not knowing so much about the external world worked really well for this story. I think, though, I looked at some other reviews of this, and this is the one thing people were kind of complaining about. They were saying that, there's not enough, about the world as at large and how dystopian it is and how the dystopia came about. And I think we're just supposed to speculate on that on our own. We're supposed to say, our world hasn't really, there's been no kind of big event. Like, it does mention that there were some kind of animal-based plagues and things like that. But given we just had a plague a few years ago, I think we're just supposed to assume that this is the kind of the natural course that our world is taking. We're going to be having more plagues. We're going to be having climate disasters. The animals are going to all die off if we don't do something. And I don't think we needed that kind of handed to us. I think it's pretty obvious, in my opinion. I thought it was pretty obvious, kind of the trajectory of the world. So anyway, that's kind of my take on it. The inside of Alcatraz is very well built in terms of world building, with a focus on how the animals live and how they're treated and how the facility has been altered to become a zoo. You could really kind of picture kind of how it was set up. The book essentially shows us a community in microcosm, and that also relates to the characters. Camille has great growth over the story, but in a different way than I expected. I guessed where the general plot would go, but the smaller, kind of more nuanced elements I did not, nor the ending. So I thought I was really involved in this book. I really, really liked it. I thought it was great. It is a little bit slower paced, but I really like a slow paced novel, so I thought it worked really well. The characters are layered and realistic. Camille and Sailor, I can tell you tons about their personalities, and not just of the main characters either. There isn't a huge cast in this book, but the others we get are also felt really real. I don't think I loved either of the women, but how they played off one another worked really well for me. I also, of course, loved the themes of animal welfare and conservationism. It was quite sad. It was really sad. It doesn't get into it really too much, but you know, you can kind of, because we can kind of see it happening in our time, like animals becoming more and more endangered and things like that. Like apparently whales have stopped singing in the oceans, and that's like a really bad sign. You know, this book is just, it's kind of like a, it's not depressing in a sense, but it also isn't very hopeful. Like it, I don't know, it's kind of like a warning. It's also a book about radicalism, activism, and trust. There's a lot going on in this book, but I thought that the book approached all of it really well, and it's really, really well balanced. Overall, if you couldn't tell, I really liked this book. I thought it was fantastic. If you love dystopian novels that info dumped you about why the dystopia happened, you probably won't like this. But if you like a kind of slice of life story set in a possible future, you should check it out, especially if you love animals. Yeah, I thought it was really good. And thank you so much to the publishers for the audiobook e-arc, or audiobook arc. I really appreciate it.